In 1984, Doug Lasden was a young lawyer with a radical idea. Instead of forcing poor, desperate people to spend their days looking for lawyers who only might be able to help them, Doug brought his services directly to those in need, setting up legal clinics in soup kitchens, homeless shelters, and eventually in a burned-out building in Harlem, from which he founded the Urban Justice Center.
The Urban Justice Center really couldn't have happened anywhere else. Because of the freedom and the support and the moxie and the chutzpah, whatever you want to call it, but just that sense that almost anything you wanted to do was possible. Doug and the other colleagues at the Urban Justice Center, wanted to support that, wanted to make sure that you could focus on the stuff that was hard, focus on the stuff that really mattered to your clients. And so that's the kind of secret sauce of the Urban Justice Center, that sort of, dream big, take big swings, and we've got your back.
To Doug, this was common sense, but in the world of legal nonprofits, this was a groundbreaking new method for challenging discrimination and helping New York City's most vulnerable residents. This became the bedrock ethos of UJC, to find those in the most dire straits and to provide the critical services they needed for free, in ways which they could easily access. In those early years, Doug worked on cases that established what we today now understand to be basic human rights. His first case, Palmer versus Cuomo, was on behalf of thousands of foster care children. Every year, when kids turned 18, the foster care system immediately abandoned them to independent living. Thanks to Doug's advocacy, a transition period has been built into the foster care system, ensuring youth are supported until they're adults at the age of 21. Soon, word of Doug's work attracted other lawyers with big ideas, turning the Urban Justice Center into a legal powerhouse. In the 2000s, UJC became the home for daring legal projects that fought on behalf of those that other organizations ignored. We focused on social entrepreneurship, finding those leaders who were working on critical issues in ways that were sustainable, scalable, and effective. A great idea that's only great on paper, Doug realized, isn't a great idea at all. That's how we came to launch our Street Vendor Project, which just last year passed new regulations increasing the legal number of permits for street vendors in the city for the first time since the early 1980s.
What about you?
I was born in Egypt. In 2008, I was able to visit and see why everyone is so crazy about the American dream. I met a street vendor and I learned from him that you can start your own business. When I was working in Times Square, I was a subject to receive a lot of fines and tickets by the NYPD, and the judge gave me a class that I have to take. And in this class, I learned about the Street Vendor Project. So it was really inspiring to hear that there is an organization that defends street vendors' rights. And now, I'm the new managing director.
Can you please help me? That's hard enough to say without people then looking down on you when you're paying with food stamps.
Poverty tends to not just empty your pockets, it also tends to empty your soul. I mean, it just makes people feel as if they're worthless.
The idea of American individualism is rooted so deeply. You're poor because you caused it.
We at the Safety Net Project work with marginalized communities, people who are very poor, very homeless. We try and help people through legal action and through general advocacy, try and navigate the city's bureaucratic system, but if necessary, provide legal representation. We help people deal first with their basic needs and try and steer them in the direction where they can get beyond that.
At the Domestic Violence Project, we serve survivors of intimate partner violence. They're coming to us because they don't have a means to get out.
Yo tenía 15 años cuando conocí a mi esposo. Una noche él abusó de mí. Yo me sentí ¿Por qué no hay justicia para mí?
Every single client that we have is courageous. Call them survivors because they have survived. They're strong. They're standing up for the first time where everyone sees them.
Tú vales mucho. Como mujer, como persona, como ser humano, es lo más lindo que he escuchado. Que diga, Guadalupe, no te preocupes, cualquier cosa, aquí estamos. Nosotros no te vamos a dejar sola. Esa palabra es como diciendo, toma mi mano y vamos adelante.
Today, UJC is composed of 8 long-standing anchor projects who serve tens of thousands of people a year. Each project is led by experts in the field who devise their own strategy for making change, combining free legal services with impact litigation, social services, community organizing, legislative advocacy, and more. Inspired by our success at incubating important new projects in their early years, UJC launched a social justice accelerator in 2018. To date, 10 freestanding nonprofits have been launched by our accelerator, and we are about to announce 5 more.
The Social Justice Accelerator grew out of an interest that the Urban Justice Center had in bringing together early stage social entrepreneurs to address complex issues in unique ways. We are supporting really amazing visionaries and problem solvers and future lawyers in making our world a more just and equitable place.
The Urban Justice Center really is that platform and that force multiplier that doesn't just strengthen itself, but it also leads to the creation of other organizations that continue to serve the community in really powerful and empowering ways.
No one, least of all Doug, could have predicted where the UJC would go over its first 40 years. But with your help, we know that UJC will continue to fight for the rights of the most vulnerable in New York City and around the world for 40 more years.
We advocate for a just, fair, and decent society.
And mentor the next generation of social justice leaders.
We are innovators.
We are cutting edge,
Progressive.
Empowering.
And we are growing day by day.